بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Respected brothers and sisters, all praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has given us another day in our life. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make this day as a source of khair for us and protect us from all types of evil. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. As we were discussing during these months regarding the sacrifices of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam and the types of tests that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent upon Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. After recognizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and submitting to oneness of Allah Azza wa Jal, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam started to work with his people and make them realize that practices that you're doing, it has no benefit to you. So Allah Azza wa Jal talks about in two different places the way Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam addresses this issue. The issue of idol worship, the issue of not understanding and recognizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the biggest loss the human being is going to occur and is going to face after leaving from this world, that he has left without recognizing Allah Azza wa Jal. And the person who leaves without recognizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the matters of akhirah becomes very difficult for him. And he's not able to go over whatever Allah Azza wa Jal has decided for him to do on the day of judgment. He's not able to get any benefit on that day. So Allah says, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. That indeed we granted Ibrahim alayhi salam the understanding, rushd, a person who has been given a sound understanding and he has been guided on that. Min qabl, from before, even before he turned to an age where responsibilities can be given to an individual. Or even before nabuwah, before we granted him nabuwah, this understanding of the oneness of Allah was granted to Ibrahim alayhi salam, as we discussed yesterday, that these were the tests that Allah Azza wa Jal brought upon Ibrahim before even he was given the nabuwah. And in fact, passing these tests became the means of Ibrahim alayhi salam reaching to that status and to the elevation that Allah Azza wa Jal grant him. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was given that understanding, and by that understanding he addressed his people and his father. إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلُ الَّتِي أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ. Yet my father and my community, what is these idols that you worship and you follow and you go around? This has no benefit to you. They are not able to give you any benefit. So first he addresses the entire community, including everyone, even his father. And then in Surah Maryam, Allah Azza wa Jal talks about the conversation that Ibrahim alayhi salam has specifically with his father regarding the matter of a religion. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, as being in a young and tender age, having to face these difficulties, قَالُوا وَجِدْنَا عَلَيْهَا آبَاءَنَا لَهَا عَابِدِينَ. They said that this is something what we found our forefathers do. So we cannot deviate from that path. And especially when it comes from an inexperienced small child who is telling us what we are worshipping is not right, it doesn't make sense to us. And in Surah Maryam, Allah says Ibrahim alayhi salam addresses his father. Ya abati lima ta'budu ma la yasma'u wa la yubsiru wa la yughni anka shay'a. Ya abati inni qad ja'ani min al-ilmi ma lam ya'tika fattabi'ni ahdika siratan sawiyya. That, oh my father, why do you worship something that is not beneficial to you at all? It cannot give you benefit, it cannot take away harm from you. Neither it can give you any harm. And he says, my father, I have been given this information by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have been given this ilm by Allah Azza wa Jal. So do not follow these idols. Ya abati la ta'budi shaytan. Oh my father, do not follow these footsteps of shaitan. This is a very important message, because Ibrahim alayhi salam, he's not only fulfilling the purpose that Allah Azza wa Jal has given him to obey and and fulfill and tell people about the oneness of Allah. He's also telling us that if you find yourself into an environment where you have difficulty in making people accept the right thing, what should be your approach? How you are supposed to approach and address this issue. So he tried his many different ways of convincing these people and his family, his father, not to worship these idols, because he used to see, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam used to see that his father himself used to make the idols. And he used to say that, Dad, you create something with your own hand. After that, you tell people to worship. You worship it yourself. What kind of foolish behavior and action this is? So people would not listen. His father is not listening because Ibrahim alayhi salam being in that stage. So he came up with an idea. And this idea was to break all the idols and keep the big idol alive, staying together. Why? So people can understand this. So فَجَعَلَهُمْ جُذَاذًا إِلَّا كَبِيرًا لَهُمْ لَعَلَّهُمْ إِلَيْهِ يَرْجِعُونَ. So Ibrahim alayhi salam came. One day the entire community went outside for celebration. Ibrahim alayhi salam stayed back and he did what he had to do. When these people, they returned, they found that every idol of theirs has been broken into pieces, and there is a big axe sitting in front of this big idol. So they start talking about, قالوا سمعنا فتى يقال لهم إبراهيم. Who did this to our idols? We used to hear this youngster who used to talk about not worshipping idols. So I think he's the one who did it. So Ibrahim alayhi salam also expressed this intention to others to let them know that the worship that they're doing, it is something that is not right. And then they came, they investigated, and they found Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. So this was a second test that Allah Azza wa Jal brought, where everybody and everyone, they are against Ibrahim alayhi salam. And the type of difficulty that he had to bear just to convey the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And still in that scenario, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, he is working his best to make people realize about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how he delivered the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this test, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam pass as he was moving forward with his life. And then the next test about throwing into the fire and then taking out from the city. All of these, Quran mentions that these are different tests of Ibrahim alayhi salam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the understanding. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us a strong faith that we are able to tackle difficulties and differences of individuals and the fitnas that arise against our faith. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.